The tea bag was invented in 1908. Some people say by accident. But it really became popular during World War I and World War II as a way of getting tea to soldiers on the front lines. And of course, the tea bag had certain benefits, right? On the one hand, it was very convenient. You heat your water, you put your tea in, you toss the bag, there's really nothing to it. Second, bag teas were very cheap. They were made with low quality ingredients, which were really ground into a fine powder. And they were valued really more for their low cost than for their sophisticated flavor profiles. And if you fast forward 100 years, really not that much has changed. Today in 2019, virtually all bag teas on the market continue to be made with low quality ingredients. They are overly processed, they're off trend in terms of flavors, and they tend to be highly chemicalized. This last point is especially true of fruit teas or any other kind of flavored teas, which rely on chemical flavorings for their fruity tastes. And this is kind of surprising, right, considering the changes that we've seen in the United States in the past 20 years or so. We've seen a revolution in the way that people produce and consume food. We've got craft beers, we've got artisanal cheeses, locavore movements, everything else. But if you want to find a bag tea that reflects any of these broader food trends, it's been nearly impossible to find. When talking to customers, I very often use the example of a wild berry tea that is widely available on grocery store shelves. This berry tea has 13 different ingredients in it. Only 5 of those ingredients are not produced in a laboratory. And of those 5 real ingredients, there are no berries. Okay, so it's a wild berry tea with no berries in it. Now, our teas are different, right? We are really differentiated from our competitors in several important ways. The first way is that we really do use very high quality ingredients. All of our ingredients are certified organic. We try to source as many of our ingredients from the United States as we can. And we don't buy any ingredients from China or India. Secondly, we don't add anything to our teas. So no sugar, no sweeteners, no flavorings, no preservatives, colorings, anything like that. And for this reason, our teas have a clean, pure fruit taste. And third, we use whole fruit in our tea. So one of the things that customers first notice is that our teas are made with real whole fruit. And as a result, they're beautiful to look at, and we try to make the most of this through transparent packaging. Which really brings me to the fourth point, which is that the packaging that we use is, we try to be as environmentally friendly as we can. Our bags are compostable. The inner bag is compostable in commercial composting systems, and the outer bag is actually backyard bin compostable. It's made with wood pulp, actually. And so those are the things that really distinguish our teas from most other teas out there, right? Just kind of a natural, whole, clean label product that we think people want and need. Well, it's kind of funny. I think that, first of all, not a lot of people know this, right? So very often they read labels and they read natural flavors and they're not exactly sure what that means. And if you look into what this term, what's in a natural flavor, it gets very, very complicated very quickly. And so I think, half of what we're doing is just educating consumers about what it is that is in their tea and why they might want something different. And it's not simply about, avoiding other, teas with, say, flavorings and things in them. A lot of it just has to do with, wanting a product that's whole, right? The analogy I often use is with coffee. So if somebody were to, if you were to go to a coffee shop in the morning and they gave you a clear glass of hot liquid that just had coffee flavoring in it, right? You would probably say, well, what are you doing, right? The idea of brewing a real coffee product with only coffee flavoring is just kind of nonsensical and nobody would really go for it. But that's what a lot of tea companies are doing, right? They're making fruit teas. They're basically just giving you a product that doesn't really have a lot of real ingredients in it. Yeah, so there are two inspirations for this company. The first is really my wife. My wife is a big fan of fruit-flavored waters, so Spindrift, Bai, what other brands, Hint Waters and things like this. But one of the things that she noticed was that there weren't really any fruit-flavored waters available that were served hot. So we basically, she's is a professional woman. She works in an office, and very often she is cold, and she needs a hot beverage that she can drink kind of throughout the day. What happened is she kind of complained about this. I had some dried fruits in the pantry, and I started infusing dried fruits for her to kind of satisfy this need she had for a fruit-flavored water that was served hot. So that was one part of it. And the other inspiration really comes from my sons. I have twin boys who are 9 years old. And one of them is, but they're both type 1 diabetics. One is symptomatic and one is not. And one of the things that, having a type 1 diabetic has taught me is that we don't do a very good job of, producing low-calorie, high-quality beverages, especially for children. We like to ski, and we go into the lodge every winter, and of course, they have two options available for them. They got hot chocolate and they got cider, and neither of which I can really feed my kids. So the other goal was really to produce some kind of hot beverage that was also low-carb and was suitable for people on restricted carbohydrate diets, and was also low calorie as well, and also high quality. So we probably have, I guess 20 different ingredients. Most of those ingredients come from the United States. Matter of fact, our largest supplier for dried fruit is located in Nampa, which is about 10 miles away. If we can't get fruit from the United States, then we try to get it from the Americas. So our mangoes and our pineapple, for example, we end up sourcing from Mexico and Costa Rica, respectively. But it's only if we can't get it in the U.S. that we'll look to the Americas, and if we can't get it from the Americas, we'll go farther afield. So it's a little bit tricky with things like bananas and coconut. Our coconut now comes from the Philippines. Our bananas come from Sri Lanka. But we don't get anything from China or India, and the reason is because I've actually lived in China for about 6 years, and levels of pollution and very sort of irresponsible pesticide use have really gotten me to rethink really anything that I consume from China, and India has similar problems. And so I just, I want to buy my products from as nearby as possible. And I want to get them from, either reputable dealers who are sourcing their materials or their ingredients from reputable countries with good labor systems. When we do, it's like all of our citrus, for example. We have lemons and oranges and a fair number of our teas, and it come from California, right? And while I can't guarantee that everything is going to be fine in terms of the cultivation of these crops, I know that it's going to be better in California than it will be in some place that I can't see. So this is very important to us. The other thing about living in Idaho and just in the United States generally is we've got good fruit, right? I mean, we have really great berries. We've got good apples. This particular area is especially good for growing fruit crops. So to me, there really is no need to go farther afield for ingredients. Questions. So one of the things that's different about our teas is that we tell people to steep the tea for 7 minutes, which is not, a lot of teas will tell you to steep it for 5 or so. And the reason that and then you're supposed to pull the tea bag out. Well, our teas, first of all, you don't have to pull the tea bag out. We tell people to leave the bag in because Voće gets better, not bitter, right? So we don't have to worry about the bitterness in the same way that other companies do because we're using whole fruit. So typically what happens is that your tea will get better over time. So leave it in for or steep it for at least 7 minutes before you start drinking it, and leave the bag in, and you'll see that it gets better over time. So that's, I think, really the only instruction. Of course, when you're done, just take the label off your tea and then throw it in the composting, your bag and the outer bag. With making iced tea, they also make great iced teas, but they need to be brewed hot as opposed to cold brewed. So we tell people to use 1 tea bag for 16 ounces of hot water, which is about 4 bags for a half gallon, and to brew the tea hot and then let it cool down with the bags in. And once it's at room temperature, take the bags out and stick it in the fridge or put it over ice. We also sell our teas at the Boise Co-op, and we sell our teas in person at the Boise Farmers Market at its new location on 1500 Shoreline Drive, and we also sell our teas at the Sun Valley Farmers Market every Tuesday. And those experiences are great in the sense that it gives us a great opportunity to interact with our customers, find out what they like, find out what they don't like, get feedback. It's very, very useful for us. And of course, the markets have got a lot of great people in them. They're very well run. They're in great locations, easy access. Really, it's kind of fun for the whole family, and it's good for us as a company because we get a lot of. Same name. Voće means fruit in Croatian. Okay. And I'm not Croatian, but I just really like the sound of it. It's different, right? It's unique, and of course it's got the symbolic meaning that fruit, and that's really what we're all about. We're all about the fruit.